Let's start with the New York Post one. We got Tyler McCarthy from Fox News reporting on Patton Oswalt getting crap from people about performing with Chappelle. This is comedy stuff. This is your wheelhouse.
This is comedy stuff.
And we haven't talked about the Chappelle thing, I don't think, at all since that all.
I've been on a bunch of shows talking about the Chappelle stuff, talking about, hey, the basic statement of Dave Michelle, a close relative of Dave Chappelle. But what Dave Chappelle was saying in his latest special was saying that, hey, I can't be a transphobe because I have this one person who I know, not really friends with, and they were cool with me. So that means I can't be a transphobe. That was his entire argument. And somehow that did not work out well for him.
I can understand how that didn't land. I think my problem is I don't think he was trying to be malicious when he made those jokes. He was just, you know, and I feel like it's a lot different than it was with like what's his name? Richard Kramer.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. So
like that was
Michael Richards, who was Kramer, who used the N-word like a gangster shooting a Tommy gun.
The N-word, like I mean, take the whole thing. but he let the hecklers get to him, and he freaked. Like, you
know what? I'm gonna challenge you on that, and that Michael Richards is more forgivable because that he acted in a moment of passion. Michael Richards, you know, even though he's a comedic actor, he was not a stand-up comedian, and he was trying to be a stand-up comedian, and it's brutal. And he let the hecklers get to him, and he shot his mouth off when he shouldn't have. You know, Dave Chappelle, on the other hand, is a veteran, knew exactly what he was doing. So yeah, you know, I think in terms of who we're going to put blame on, or I think Dave Chappelle has a heavier burden than Michael Richards. I think regardless of what Richards said in a moment of passion.
I think that's probably heavier burden. I mean, Chappelle's got got a bunch of Netflix specials and probably isn't particularly hurting.
No, he is definitely not hurting, because that's the kind of society that we live in. You know, a basic rule of comedy, and you know this, Jack Matirko, and the audience. Basically, if you're watching this channel, you know that basically one of the rules of comedy is that you don't hit down, right? You punch up. You make fun of people, you satirize people that are more powerful than you, that have a higher status in society. But Dave Chappelle feels in his heart of hearts that the LGBTQ community have a higher status than he does as a Black man in America. And that's where he decides to die on that hill. Now, this article here talks about how Patton Oswalt was working. I actually read the article. Hello, I do this sometimes. I prepare for the show. You know, so Patton Oswalt was working next door to Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle said, hey, how about you come on over and do a set with me? Patton Oswalt said, sure, why not? You're a friend.
Definitely a thing that people who do comedy do all the time. Like, it's not like.
And the thing is, and the thing is that there are different levels of Patton Oswalt weaseling this particular situation. At first he says, you know, he's saying like, hey, Dave Chappelle's my friend, and you can't force me not to be with for him not to be my friend. And it's like, brother, Patton Oswalt, come on, you know this is BS as much as I do. The fact that you can still be friends with someone and say, hey, I think you're wrong, but I cannot endorse you. I can't be on the same stage with you, because if I do, I'm going to have to say how you're wrong, right?
But doesn't that, because the entire premise of the social media environment that we find ourselves trying to market ourselves in is.
I'm sorry, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Because I'm doing a piss poor job at it.
Well, no, I mean, you're taking, because what do people want? Well, they want genuine, they want authentic, they want, And as soon as somebody says something that's genuine and authentic that other people disagree with, like,
Listen,
people want you to be good at faking genuineness and authenticity in a nice, comfortable, safe little bubble of topics. But once you go outside that bubble,
any entertainer will tell you that the audience will say one thing. And if you're in sales, if you've ever tried to sell anything to anyone, you probably already know this, is the fact that what the seller says that they want is not really what they're looking for. What an audience says that they want out of comedian is not exactly what they're looking for either.
sure.
So they say they want truthiness. It's like, do they? Or is it just platitudes, thinly veiled hand jobs, rhetorical hand jobs? And I would say it's more the hand jobs.
No, yeah, rhetorical hand jobs. They want affirmations of their own opinions, which is
so let's say that
plenty of comedians that get, specials and one-night stands and whatnot, and then you have other comedians who do very well just playing, the county fairs and whatnot, right?
So let's say that I was working and I was doing a gig, and there was someone who was doing conservative comedy, right? That Gulfred guy or Gulfield, whatever his name is on Fox News. I'd be like, dude, even if I like the guy personally, it's like, if I get up on stage, I will say things that will not be complimentary to you, your political position, or your career. Why? Because if I don't say those things, I am complicit. Silence is complicity. And if I don't speak out against it, especially when we're basically on sharing the same venue, then who am I? Am I just someone who says, oh, well, I'm just in it because you're my friend and I have no moral center whatsoever? So Patton Oswalt, he is trying to rationalize a decision that he probably made on the fly, didn't think about it. And now he is cognitively dissonancing himself into this really shit position that's undefensible.
If you're somebody like Patton Oswalt and you're like, well, I'm looking to do some comedy tonight. I want to get in front of a crowd and have that crowd interaction. Like, because I don't think that Patton's doing stand-up because he necessarily needs to right now.
If the case is that Patton, like I said, I think that this is just an off-the-cuff decision by Patton Oswalt. He didn't really think about it, because if Patton Oswalt just really wanted to perform, just wanted to get on stage, he could perform every single night for hours and hours. He could go to whatever city he's living in. He could do sets at the store. If he was living in New York, he could go and do sets at the Cellar. He could go anywhere and have as much stage time as the guy wants. He's at that point in his career. So I think he just felt that, I think he got hooked onto something, and I'm hoping that this is a learning experience for him. He's a smart guy. He's got a good heart, and I hope he has time to reflect about it.
You can't even really be sure that this could be a lot of after, because he's got a couple Netflix specials too, right? How do you know this wasn't a thing where the agents had lunch and they're just like, hey, Pat, you're going to go do a set at this thing? Because
I don't know.
I
will say this is that even though I spent a lot of time, and I've riffed on Dave Chappelle on my blog too a number of times because of this particular incident. I will say this is that Dave Chappelle is a better comedian than Patton Oswalt. I mean, that's obvious, right? And I could see why Patton Oswalt would want to be with someone, or be, in the same, share the same stage with someone who's a better comedian, who's a better craftsman. You don't think Dave Chappelle's a better comedian than Patton Oswalt? Did you see Patton Oswalt's last special?
I have not.
Yeah, well,
that should be pretty much everything you need to say about that.
Yeah, and even though I dislike Dave Chappelle in terms of how he's decided to, this is my hill I'm going to die on, in terms of really punching down on the LGBTQ community, I can still say that the man is very good at the art form. He's one of the best at the art form right now. It's just a shame that he is an old dude who just, as Taylor Tomlinson said about her dad, he just didn't get the software update.